So you never know who you're going to see at Citizens Bank Park where the Phillies play some exhibition games. You might see Genmar Gomez while you're walking through the gates. You might get a chance to see Odubel Herrera or maybe Maikel Franco, Freddie Galvis. It's always a great time here at the ballpark when the Phillies play these exhibition games. And today is the last game before things begin for real on Monday in Cincinnati. Now, the Phillies are closer to announcing their official 25-man roster to start the year. After last night's game against the Baltimore Orioles, they reassigned to the minor leagues Andrew Bailey, Ernesto Frieri, who struggled last night, J.P. Arancibia, and Will Venable. Officially, the Phillies will announce their roster probably after today's game. Right now, it does sit at 25, which is the maximum that they could have on the opening day roster. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, joined by Ben Davis. We'll hear from Greg Murphy in just a little bit. All right, so today the Phillies will get another glimpse at their future. And one of the guys who will be getting the baseball to start today's ball game is Jake Thompson.
Yes, and I've had the privilege the last couple of years in the offseason to come in and talk to some of these prospects about what their plans are, how to handle big league life. And I told them there's only one place to play. That's in this ballpark. It's nice minor leagues, make some memories, blah, blah, blah. But overall, Tom, this is the place to do it. And hopefully it'll be the same for Jake Thompson entering today's ball game.
How good is Jake Thompson? Well, he's already been traded twice. Once from the Tigers to the Rangers, and then from the Rangers to the Phillies. 24 starts last year between Double-A Frisco and Double-A Reading. He had a very good record. Now, what he's going to face today is a Phillies lineup that's been mashing some home runs the last couple of days. They have 11 home runs in the last two exhibition games.
And boy, is this fun to watch. And that's something the offense has been lacking over the last couple of years for these Philadelphia Phillies. But the way they're swinging the bats recently, and they're getting it from a lot of different sources, which you like to see. Yes, Maikel Franco, I don't know what he's been eating lately, but he is on fire. Ryan Howard last couple nights going opposite field, which we have been accustomed to him doing over the last couple seasons. Darren Ruff, you were saying before, how does he pull his hands in that quickly and make that swing so short? He's been very hot this spring.
Well, and Pete Buchanan did say yesterday that officially it will be Darren Ruff and Ryan Howard who will be platooning at first base. So it is nice to see both of those guys producing with the long ball. So it is the final exhibition game of the spring today at Citizens Bank Park. It will be Jake Thompson on the mound for the Futures, and Charlie Morton makes his final tune-up before the start of the regular season. Well, as we mentioned, you never know who you're going to see. You might see Dalier Hinojosa. You might see Genmar Gomez again out in Ashburn Alley roaming around. Hector Neris. Autographs are all over the place here at the ballpark. Lineups and first pitch when we come back. We may have looked like bankers today during our open, but the Fanatic always looks the same, and he's always funny. and a chance to entertain our camera operators this afternoon and everybody else watching at home. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Phillies Futures, brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Roman Quinn leads it off at center, then J.P. Crawford and Nick Williams. Andrew Knapp, the catcher, will bat cleanup. Dylan Cousins in right field. Brock Stassi is at first base in the bottom third of Joseph, Angelo Mora, and Valentin at second base. And they'll face Phillies right-hander Charlie Morton over from the Pittsburgh Pirates organization. Charlie this spring, 3 starts, 1-1 with a 4.63 ERA. He did pitch in some minor league games as well. The schedule was kind of bunched up at times because of some illnesses going through the clubhouse. But he's been down in the strike zone. I think that's what they're most concerned about.
When he's down, he is very effective in inducing a lot of ground balls. You take a look at the scouting report. 90-96, I think he'll pretty much sit around 91-92. Change curve, a slider. Not too good a record here at CBP, but he gets that sinker working, he will get a lot of ground balls.
So he's all ready to go. So are we. Our last chance here at Citizens Bank Park before we head to Cincinnati after the ball game. Phillies have pared their roster down. Pete Mackanin and Larry Bowen, the rest of the coaching staff, over the last couple of days, has watched the last few players go through their game preparation. Here's Roman Quinn. Roman the other night in Reading hit a home run in the 3rd inning. It was a solo shot. Former 2nd-round pick in 2011, and the first pitch of the day is outside. We're underway, and it's 1 ball and no strikes. Dick Shute, the official score for today, is telling us that game time temperature is 57 degrees. Out to shortstop. Galvis has to hurry because Quinn runs well. And Roman takes a peek over at Freddie as he crosses the bag, but he's retired, 1 away.
Know your runner.
It was actually kind of interesting watching Freddie as the ball was going out to him. He fielded it normally and then all of a sudden rushed it over to the first base bag.
He did, but the throw was perfectly accurate over there to Darren Ruff at first base. The ball kind of took a tricky hop on him, too.
J.P. Crawford will stand in. Crawford the other night in Reading hit a home run in his 3rd at bat, and he takes a fastball for a strike. It's 0-1. JP hit 150 with the Phillies this year. He was 3 for 20 during the spring. Little tapper to the right side. It's going to be a tough play. Burris tries to barehand it, and Crawford, who runs well, is going to get an infield hit. So the Futures have a base runner. Crawford last year stole 12 bases. I don't know if he'd be apt to try to swipe a bag here, but if you're thinking in baseball terms, he is a guy you have to keep an eye on.
He just might, despite the slick track out there.
Nick Williams homered in his 2nd to last game with the Phils in spring training. He also drove the ball into the right center field gap for a double in his last game. His swing looked like it was really starting to get on track. Once he was sent down to the minor leagues, he got sick and missed a few days, so he's still trying to get back from that. A 1 pitch, just missed inside. It's 1 ball, 1 strike.
It is amazing how those illnesses just spread like wildfire. I mean, you're just in such close proximity with your teammates all the time in the dugout, walking around the clubhouse. I mean, it can catch.
Out toward left center field. That is well hit. Going out on it is Hunter. He's not going to get there. It's a 1 hop off the wall. Crawford's around third, heading for home. Galvis's throw will go to third base or go to the cutoff man. So an RBI double by Nick Williams. And it's 1-0 Futures.
Lovely piece of hitting there by Nick Williams. Once I saw that ball get down, I really just watched J.P. Crawford run around the bases. Very good angles he was taking. But that's a very pretty swing. Knowing you can trust yourself, but I was impressed with the way Crawford was getting around the pillows out there. His angles were very precise.
Well, that'll bring Andrew Knapp to the plate. Knapp also was up with the Phils during spring training. He had a home run.
Oof.
250 overall. He's a switch hitter. He'll start the year in Lehigh Valley. Paul Owens Award winner. He had an outstanding season a year ago on 2 levels. Hit .308 with 13 home runs, 84 runs batted in. On the outside corner, and it's no balls and 2 strikes.
There you see a cutter by Charlie Morton. Supposed to be inside. You see Chooch setting up inside. The ball kind of backed up on him, but a strike nonetheless.
Fights it off to stay alive. 94 and 95 is where Morton has been in this first inning. And that's usually where he'll sit. It's the movement that's most important for Charlie Morton. Outside, 1-2.
Another breaking ball that backed up on Charlie.
To the right side, that'll get the runner over to third base, but there will be 2 outs. It's not what Knapp tried to do. And Dylan Cousins will be the batter. This guy hit a home run the other night in Reading, and we got a glimpse of how strong he is and what his potential is.
He's a big man.
Well, we mentioned the other day, he was a guy who had a chance to play baseball and football at the University of Arizona when the Phillies took him and decided to start his professional career instead of going to play football and baseball.
Imagine him with pads on.
Outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Cousins will start the year in Reading. We will get a chance to talk to Joe Jordan, the Phillies director of player development, a little later on in our telecast. Get an idea of where some of these guys will be heading. 3-0.
Green light here, Tom?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yes.
Get him green light, give him a changeup.
Right now, Chooch is thinking, gotcha.
Well, now you wonder, will he do it again?
Looks like they're going with the heater in.
And it just missed off the inside part of the plate. Ball 4. That'll bring Brock Stassi to the plate. We take a look at our Toyota leaders. And for the Reading Fightins last year, he was the Eastern League most valuable player, 7th in the league in average, 1st in RBIs. He also had 32 doubles to go along with his 15 home runs.
It really is an honor, especially as you keep moving up in the ranks. Double-A is, you can play in Double-A, you can play in the big leagues. That's the way I've always felt. Or have success in Double-A, I think you can have success in the big leagues. But that's really an honor for him. It's a great league. Some great prospects in that league, and that's a big honor.
That ball's hit to the right side, hit it on the nose, but Burris was there, and the side is retired. So the Futures do score a run on the RBI double by Nick Williams. That brought home J.P. Crawford. We mentioned that Williams had been swinging a good bat when he left Major League camp. And he hits this one to the wall in left center, so it's 1-0 Futures as we go to the bottom of the first. A little different lineup than what we'll see on opening day, but some of the participants will be in there. Let's take a look at that lineup, brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. It's Borges, Goodell, and Cedric Hunter, followed by Darren Ruff batting cleanup. Ryan Howard, the DH today, batting fifth. Carlos Ruiz will hit sixth, and then it's Blanco, Burris, and Galvis. And they'll face Phillies prospect Jake Thompson. Thompson last year started the year in the Rangers organization, acquired in the trade for Cole Hamels. And it looks like this year he's going to begin in AAA. First pitch is in there. He works fast. So get ready. He's on the rubber and ready to go already. Facing Peter Borges. Ties him up 0-2.
Good sinker there by Jake Thompson.
These are the two games that he pitched in spring training. He started one, and after that game he found out he was going down, but pitched well. I mean, you want some tempo. This is tempo right here. Two balls and two strikes to Borges.
With the conditions of today, we saw Charlie Morton, a couple of breaking balls back up on him already. Jake Thompson with a couple that backed up on him as well. So maybe they're having a tough time getting some feel on the baseball. Tough to get the maximum spin that they're looking for.
That one's popped up. Shallow center field. Crawford is out there. He says he has it. And he makes the catch. One away. That'll bring Tyler Goodell to the plate. Here's the scouting report on Jake Thompson.
88-92. 4-pitch pitcher. But he does a lot with the location of his fastball. Not overpowering, but as long as he locates, he's going to have success. I guess you could really say that about any pitcher. But Jake Thompson, one of those guys. And very familiar with Andrew Knapp as well. They got to work with each other last year.
Tyler Goodell shoots one down the right field line. That'll be in for a base hit. Cousins getting to it quickly. Goodell on his way to second, and he is there just ahead of the throw with short hop J.P. Crawford. I think get used to it because Tyler Goodell does shoot the ball the other way quite often.
It's his swing. He just really very level, and really that's the swing path, the swing plane, and he can motor. He is one of those sneaky fast guys because he's so tall and lanky. He can move. Good play by Nick Williams as well in right field, getting to that baseball. And
Cedric Hunter is now the batter.
I'm sorry, Dylan Cousins in right field. My apologies.
Hunter 3 home runs. There's Cousins.
There he is.
He's a tad larger than Nick Williams. Hunter out front, pops it foul. It's 1-1.
I'll blame it on first time back in the booth here, Tom.
All right, son. Yeah, the depth perception's off a little bit for you, Ben.
Thanks, partner.
Tapper foul, and it's 1-2 to Cedric Hunter. Stories of the paper the last couple of weeks about Cedric Hunter. Stories today about his adjustment this spring and the possibility of making the major league club, and how different it is now to the 4 at-bats he had with the Padres in 01. He waves at that pitch, and there are 2 outs. He said, I was just a kid back in 01. I was kind of overwhelmed by everybody around me. I don't feel as overwhelmed anymore. And he's one of those great stories that you hear from time to time in spring training. Guy coming from another organization, just looking for an opportunity and getting a chance to take advantage of it.
Well, Matt alluded to it last night about how hard he works and how many swings he's taken in the batting cage. Every time we'd come up from that tunnel there in Clearwater, he'd be in that cage hitting. I mean, it was, I know he went through a few pair of batting gloves in camp.
No balls and 1 strike to Darren Ruff. Takes outside, and going to third is Goodell. The throw by Knapp is not in time. Well, you said sneaky fast. You got a good look at that, and they worked on that a handful of times during spring training. You know, going through drills.
And sometimes it's hard to tell how far away the ball gets from the catcher when you're out at second base or even on first base. But that was a good read there by Tyler Goodell. The ball really didn't get that far from away from Knapp.
Pulled toward the hole, diving stop. Crawford to his feet quickly, slings it across the diamond, and it just didn't get there in time, and the Phillies tie it up at 1. An RBI infield single for Darren Ruff. Crawford did a heck of a job getting to that ball, shaded toward the hole, but I think he kind of spiked it as he tried to hurry it over to first base.
This was definitely intentional by J.P. Crawford to throw that ball into the grass. I didn't think he expected it to take that many bounces. I think he wanted to get a little bit more into it, so just skip across there maybe on one hop. Tom, what's that yellow thing peeking out of the sky up there?
It's the biggest star in our galaxy. Ryan Howard's the batter. Howard takes strike 1. Let's hope that sun stays out for a while. Howard homered in last night's game, and he homered the other day against the Futures, both the opposite way. DHing here this afternoon. Out towards center field. Roman Quinn venturing back toward the wall, and it is off the base of the wall. Ruff's around third, heading for home. And Ryan Howard will pull in with an RBI double, and it's 2-1 Phillies on top.
Boy, I'm liking what I see out of the big piece right now. Driving the ball. Left field, center field. Good swing here. Gets the ball that's elevated. Doesn't try and do too much. You see the reaction by the big piece. He thought he got it.
I think Jake Thompson thought he got it too.
Roman Quinn out there just mistimes that step, the jump out there. And that's just being unaccustomed to a ballpark.
I would agree with that. He better get used to it. Keeps looking back at that little corner. There's Carlos Ruiz. Carlos, 6 hits and 30 at bats. Takes inside, 1-0. Now these numbers will not count toward the spring training totals. At this point, though, it is just all about the swings and the at-bats to get ready for Monday.
And getting used to playing with sleeves on.
Going to have to do that this week. Yep. Way outside, 3 balls, no strikes. Green light for Ruiz, and he fouls it back. It's 3-1.
It was a green light there, but not the best pitch to swing at if you're a hitter. It was a strike, but not a whole lot you're going to be able to do with that. But I don't blame Chooch. You want to hit. Last game of spring training, knowing you have a day off tomorrow. Get your rips in.
All right, Howard rolls back to second base. We should see the Phillies starters, at least most of them, for quite a while in today's game, just because the roster has been pared down. A couple extra pitchers that are here. I saw J.P. Arancibia in the clubhouse before the game. So he's an extra stick off the bench for the Phils. Bo working on a shake in the dugout. Three balls, 2 strikes. And Carlos fouls it past Juan Samuel. 23 pitch first inning for Jake Thompson. And Carlos fouls it over the screen. Just like the other day, Dusty Watson said that the plan is to use just 2 pitchers in this ball game. There's Dust. He's managing the futures. And then we'll head to Reading to manage the Reading Fightins after that. Carlos works out a walk. Pinto is supposed to pitch after Jake Thompson. Thompson is scheduled to go 5 today. And then Pinto is scheduled to pitch afterward.
I don't know if that's going to be able to happen. 25 pitches already. That pitch count keeps creeping up.
Here is Andres Blanco. And Dave Lundquist, who's going to be the Lehigh Valley pitching coach, is strolling out to the mound to talk to Jake Thompson. So he will be Jake's pitching coach this year. Looks like they may have signaled to the bullpen that somebody's going to have to start loosening up. They're on their own out there, Ben. There's no bullpen coach out there with the Reading Fightins.
See the pitch count there by Jake Thompson, 25 total. Just really cannot get a feel for that breaking ball.
I think what you mentioned too is actually a good point. I mean, coming back north, just the, whether they are just trying to get used to the different feel of the baseball.
That's one thing pitchers would always complain about. I spent a lot of spring trainings in Arizona, but it was so dry and arid out there that they had a tough time with their breaking balls out there. Wasn't very tacky. So they would resort to either the sunscreen with the rosin over it just to get a little, as most pitchers do.
1 ball, no strikes to Andres Blanco. Swing and a miss, 1-1. Back towards shortstop. J.P. Crawford will just take it to the bag, and the side is retired. 6 unassisted. Phillies do get 2. They leave a couple. Yep. It's not spring training for the folks making the cheesesteaks. They are in midseason form. Park will be Monday, April 11th, when the Phillies take on the San Diego Padres. A 3:05 first pitch, and all fans coming to the ballpark will receive the Phillies commemorative opening day cap. Get your tickets now by going to Phillies.com. How you doing? Yep, you're on TV.
Yep.
Got to do more than that, though. All right, get out of the way.
Move on now.
Come on. Come on. Are you looking at me? Hi.
Jenny, look, that's a camera.
Here's Tommy Joseph to lead things off. Joseph hits one to shallow right field. And Peter Borges comes running in to make the catch. And there's one away. Somebody's got to give that young lady something else to do. Hold up a sign.
She's having a stare off.
Come on, Hannah, let's go. Here's Angelo Mora. Mora shows bunt, takes a fastball first strike. It's 0-1.
So 8 batters faced thus far for Charlie Morton. 6 first pitch strikes, which I always like to see.
Base hit up the middle for Angelo Mora. So that's the 3rd hit for the Futures. Futures game here today presented by PGW. Everybody that talked about the game in Reading the other night said how great the facility looked, what a great event it was. It looked that way. They had over 9,000 there for that ball game. There's going to be much more than that here this afternoon, as Yasmiel Valentin will be the batter. Takes a strike. It's 0-1.
Well, if anyone in the Reading area is watching this game right now, I talked to Carlos Ruiz today, and he was just ecstatic about the applause that he got, that Ryan Howard got.
That one's pulled out toward right center field. It's going to drop for a base hit. Borges will take it on one hop.
But you look at Carlos, who's played for a bunch of years now in the big leagues, and to see him, the smile on his face that it brought to him, he said, "What a great place and what great people." He said it really meant a lot to us. And he was, Chooch, he is the most sincere person.
I agree.
One of the most sincere I've ever met in this game, and it was very cool. So I applaud the efforts of everyone in Reading the other night.
Well, back to the top of the order. Here's Roman Quinn. Runners on first and second with one man down. Inside, 1 ball and no strikes. Little tapper foul. I will say that the players, the Futures, are much more aggressive. I don't think as tentative offensively today as they were the other night in Reading. At least it doesn't seem that way. I mean, they've been around for the last couple of days, so they're probably feeling a little more comfortable in their environment.
And Charlie Morton's throwing strikes.
Well, that's it too.
That's the 26th pitch there. He's thrown 17 thus far, 4 strikes. So he's around the plate.
2 balls and 1 strike. Hit inside. Roman Quinn grounded out to shortstop his first time up. Roman has been told he will start the season in Double-A Reading. It's where he finished it up before he was injured. Right toward the outer edge, 3-2. Joey Amaral is the home plate umpire today. And that is out of play. Our crack research staff last night told us that it would be local umpires. They may be local, but they are professional umpires that are out there today.
The big league gear on.
Yeah, they do.
It's a young looking bunch, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, they are. A high ball 4, and that will load up the bases. J.P. Crawford's coming up. Murph, it's a busy day in Philadelphia, isn't it? And abound.
It is a busy day in Philadelphia. A busy sports day for Philadelphia sports fans for sure. Of course, you have the game here right now. The Flyers are playing as well. And then tonight, I would imagine a lot of fans that are watching back at home will be sitting back at around 10 after 6 to watch the Villanova Wildcats in the Final Four tonight. And if you were here at the ball game earlier today, before the game, you could see a lot of our players, a lot of the staff here at Citizens Bank Park wearing these new era caps that I happen to have in my hand with the Villanova logo on the side in Villanova colors. They are very cool caps, just showing a little bit of support for the Wildcats as they look to move into the finals of the NCAA tournament tonight. Should be a great game, and we certainly wish them well.
Is that all you have down there, Murph?
That's all I have down here, yes.
I thought you were going to bring another prop.
Well, I was going to bring my St. Joe's hat out there, too, but I thought better of it. I will say I am pulling for the Wildcats tonight.
They're a great team to watch. They really are. I got a chance to see them a bunch this year, and they are as fun a bunch to watch play the game. Just play the game, as you will see in college basketball. They really are.
You know, Murph, if I had a head of hair like that, I wouldn't ruin it by putting a cap on it either.
Well, thank you. Maybe someday you will, Ben, have a head of hair like this.
Yeah, Ben, maybe you will.
No, it's.
Should I go get my cap?
It really is a cool item, and I should tell folks because I put this up on Instagram earlier today, and I got a ton of people asking whether or not they could buy these hats, and yes, you can. You can buy them here at the ballpark. So if you're interested, come on down and pick up your Villanova hat as well. And good luck to the Caps. I'm not going to put it on. I'm not going to go that far.
It's going to be a great night. I think everybody's excited to see the games. The matchups of guards, Buddy Hield and the 3 guards for Oklahoma against the backcourt of Villanova. Oof. It's going to be fun. 3-1 pitch to Crawford, back toward the middle, and Galvis makes a sliding play, and it won't get anybody. And the Futures will tie it up. Freddie just could not get the ball out of his hands, and the bases remain loaded.
Most likely did save a run and still have the double play in check here. It is a good play by Freddie getting the bag. Tom, what do I not like about that play? The fact that Roman Quinn did not slide. Anyone watching the game at home, kids, your mom will get the stains out of your pants, I promise. Get on your backside and slide. That's how you get into issues. You could roll an ankle going into second base. I'd just like to see him slide into second base. You know, you don't want anybody getting hurt, obviously, and that's a good way to do it.
By not sliding.
By not sliding.
Yeah. Here's Nick Williams. And Williams lines one to center field. Cedric Hunter's there to make the catch. Roman Quinn is lingering off second, but he'll get back. And scoring from third is Valentin. And the Futures take a 3-2 lead, and Nick Williams has 2 RBIs. Boy, he's really swung the bat well in these 2 ABs.
Using the whole diamond. He went to the chopping in the gap, his first at bat for a double. That's just a laser to center field to Cedric Hunter in center. But very good approach. You know, you got bases loaded, you want to do some damage, but that's when we get into problems where we get a little too aggressive, get out in front, maybe roll the ball over to second base, stay within himself right there, and good at bat.
Well, Andrew Knapp grounded out his first time up. Over to the right side, Emmanuel Burris gobbles it up, and the side is retired. But 2 runs do score for the Futures. They get 3 base hits. They leave a couple. We'll head to the bottom of the second here at Citizens Bank Park. It's the Futures 3 and the Phillies 2. live from Houston to get you ready for Nova's Final Four showdown against Oklahoma with exclusive Villanova analysis that only Comcast Sportsnet can deliver. Watch March to the Net tonight at 5:30 only on CSN. 3-2, Futures on top. You head out toward Ashburn Alley. You get a chance to soak in all of the merchandise that is out at the Mitchell & Ness Alley store. That is down sort of left center field. Maikel Franco, it's funny, his home run sort of went viral around Major League Baseball yesterday. Everybody knows how, how far that was, this ballpark. There haven't been many that have gone as deep as his home run did up into the upper deck. I was trying to think about it last night, going home, how many balls have been hit up there that length during a game. Pat Burrell, I remember, hit one up there. We're talking about, Matt was talking about somebody last night hitting one. Jason Worth hit one when he was with the Nationals up in that level. I mean, it was a shot.
It was a bomb. Take a look at this. Just watch how far. I mean, this is.
Yeah, that's far.
Amazing.
Emmanuel Burris hits one on one hop past the diving Valentine for a base hit. And Manny's aboard with a leadoff single. I figured I'd throw Manny out there. It's Emmanuel, but I figured I'd throw Manny out there because I heard Freddie Galvis say about him the other day.
And I heard Brock Stassi last night when he was getting interviewed by Greg Murphy.
Yeah.
Use it. And when he said, I used to watch Manny when he was playing for the Giants.
In the dirt, 1 ball, no strikes.
Does that make us cooler if we say Manny?
I think so.
Yeah.
Makes us seem like we're in the know. Freddie hitting 194 this spring. His numbers are somewhat skewed right now. Not that he wasn't hitting that low in spring training down in Florida, but since we've gotten back, he's had some really good swings, whether it be in Reading, whether it be last night, as Burris draws the throw over to first.
And that's what you want, him getting hot at the right time.
Off the hands, out toward left center field. That's going to split the gap and go to the wall. Emmanuel Burris is around third. He's going to head home, and we're going to tie this game up at 3 here in the bottom of the second.
And that's what he's been doing so well, using the whole field. Pretty swing there by Freddie.
So Freddie's at second base. 3-3 game. Here's that swing.
Now, location of this pitch, what I like about what some of these Phillies have been doing recently is, yes, they're using the whole field, but they're getting pitches that are up. If you get a pitch that up, doesn't mean you have to pull it. They're trusting themselves to go the other way, and still the pitcher's supplying all the power. You get a pitch up, out over the plate, why would you want to pull it? Drive it the other way.
Yeah, because if you pull it, it's going to basically be to the right side, right?
Exactly. And you get a lazy fly ball. You get on top too much, smother it to second if you're a lefty.
Breaking ball inside, 1 ball, 1 strike to Peter Borges. He popped out to shortstop his first time up. And he pops this one up the first base line. And Andrew Knapp makes the catch. 1 away.
Jake Thompson knowing exactly what Peter Borges wants to do in that situation. Hit a ball towards the right side and use a nice firm fastball on the inner side, inner half to induce that little jam shot.
Well, here's Tyler Goodell. He doubled his only time up and scored a run. Jake Thompson's numbers during his career, his professional career, have been excellent. A lot of times in the minor leagues, they don't always look at the win-loss numbers, but his have been good. He's 25 and 17 during his minor league career. A lot of times what they'd like to see is the strikeouts per innings pitched, the strikeout to walk ratio, and the ERA. ERA is always a telling statistic, whether it be in the minor leagues, whether it be in the major leagues. And his ERA throughout the minor leagues during his 4 seasons is 3.25. That's going to turn some heads, because it means that your whip is down and his is 1.2.
What about his nay-nay?
I haven't gotten that in depth with him. I don't know. 2 balls and 1 strike.
And a lot of times you're pitching in leagues, the California League for one. I know the Pacific Coast League is another one. Ball flies. There's some stadiums the ball just jumps, and if you can keep that ERA as low as possible, even some place in the Texas League.
2-1 pitch to Goodell. That one is a little high, and it's 3-1. Well, according to MLB Pipeline, which is their service that registers the best farm systems in baseball, the best individuals in those farm systems, he is the #2 prospect for the Phillies, behind J.P. Crawford. As Goodell fights one off foul up the left field line. And among the pitchers, he is listed as #1. We will see Ricardo Pinto a little later on. We've seen Eflin. We've seen Appel. Franklin Kilome, we will not see yet. Goodell tried to hold up, but he went around. That breaking ball had some movement on it.
Late movement.
Second strikeout for Thompson. Now, overall, we talked about Thompson being #2, according to MLBpipeline.com. Crawford, of course, is #1. Williams, who has swung the bat well, is #3. And then Pinto, who we'll see later on, is among the top 10. Cedric Hunter floats one out to right field, a base hit. Rounding third, heading for home is Galvis. Here's the throw by Cousins. He let it fly, and Galvis is out at home plate. He went right over the top of the cutoff man, and it didn't matter. He threw a strike to Andrew Knapp, and the side is retired. 9-2 on the putout. Well, we said that he's got power with the bat. He obviously has power with the arm as well. Galvis is tagged out to finish up the bottom of the second. Third inning here at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies in our futures. Well, take a look at the future. Maybe out right field. Dylan Cousins.
He comes up firing. I'm thinking, is this ball ever going to get down? Well, it did. It got right into the mitt of Andrew Knapp to get Freddie Galvis out at home plate.
All right, I want to explain to everybody what the booth looked like as the throw was coming in, because Cousins got to it quickly, and as soon as he let it fly, Ben's hands went up in the air because you thought What?
I thought he just for sure missed the cutoff man. I just thought it was going to keep sailing.
I thought the same thing.
And that's another one of my pet peeves, not hitting the cutoff man, allowing the runner to take second base, is what Cedric Hunter would have done. But he ended the inning, Tom.
He did. And he starts the top of the third. Takes a breaking ball. It's 0-2.
Boy, that's a long run in from right field. Grab your stick and your helmet and go back up to the plate.
You think his heart's racing right now?
It might be. He gave a little fist pump out there after he threw him out at home. And don't think that this big league coaching staff doesn't remember this. These guys know exactly what they're looking at.
Foul tip hung on to by Ruiz, and one away from Morton. That's strikeout number 1. Well, the Phillies will celebrate the Fanatics' birthday on Sunday, April 17th, when they take on the Washington Nationals. It's brought to you by Citizens Bank. And all fans 14 and under, all kids, will receive the Fanatic Flair Hair Advisor. Get your tickets now by going to Phillies.com. Here's Brock Stassi with 1 out. Breaking ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Tried to hold up, but he went around. Actually, it was called a strike. It didn't even count on the swing. 1 ball, 1 strike. Give you an idea of Charlie Morton and what he has been during his career. He was a former 3rd-round pick by the Atlanta Braves back in 2002. He's now 32 years old. He spent a lot of time in Flemington, New Jersey before graduating from Joel Barlow High School in Reading, Connecticut. Breaking ball. That's in there. 2-2. After being drafted by the Braves, he was traded to the Pirates, and that's where he really cut his teeth in the big leagues. 7 years in the big leagues with the Pirates, 41 wins, 62 losses. And last year he was 9-9 for Pittsburgh. And he strikes out Stassi. Back-to-back Ks for Morton. 2 outs.
There's a 2-1 backdoor hook and then comes in here with a front door sinker. Brock Stassi says, yeah, Charlie, that was a good pitch.
Well, now Tommy Joseph.
That was one of those pitches, Tom, that, you know, I wasn't very strong offensively.
You would have hit that pitch?
But that was one pitch I could never get myself to swing at.
Which one?
The one that just started at your hip.
Oh, right. The
from
two-seamer.
Yeah. Tim Hudson used to do that repeatedly to me, and I would give up on it every time.
I think it's a great pitch for any right-hander to try to master.
To try and master, but it's a hard pitch to master. Sometimes you pull it and you yank it. You end up almost hitting a lefty. Sometimes you want to backdoor to a righty and it gets too much plate. Next thing you know, it's 3-0. But as a lefty, I just could not get myself to swing at it, and it frustrated me to no end. You think at one point I would just say, all right, you know what? I'm just going to stand in there and I'm going to take my hacks. I've talked to other lefties that say, you know what? I know this pitcher's going to do it. I'm just going to sit back and waylay on it. You know? Waylay.
I don't even know who you are. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Tommy Joseph.
I like to talk about hitting.
Inside 3-2. Ground ball foul. Tommy Joseph will be in AAA this year. He's no longer catching, which he, and Ben, you can relate to this, said the other day that he misses more and more every day. Said he misses the game part of catching.
Yes.
Just being involved at every single moment. Looks that one a shallow center. Hunter started back. Now he's got to come running in, and it's going to drop into the middle of that triangle. And Tommy Joseph will have a 2-out single here in the third.
No man's land. Ball was up in the air for an awful long time not to be caught.
I think once Hunter took a step back, that's what cost him. He probably would have had it. He's fairly deep anyway. He took more than one step back.
You're exactly right.
Mora to Darren Ruff. Morton's there to cover, and the side is retired. So only one extra pitch after the single by Tommy Joseph. No runs, one hit, and one man left for the Futures. On to the bottom of the third. We're all tied up at 3. Brought to you by Papa John's. The day after Phillies win, get 50% off regular menu price pizzas using the promo code Phillies online at papajohns.com. And by WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. Last of the third, Phillies against their Futures. We're tied up at 3. Darren Ruff will lead it off. It'll be Ruff, Howard, and Carlos Ruiz against right-hander Jake Thompson. Darren Ruff reached on an infield single, got an RBI his first time up. They will play him. This is funny. That ball is pulled over to third and a diving grab by Mora. One away. All right. Did you find it at all funny that they were playing 3 infielders on the left side of the diamond against Darren Ruff?
Well, he hit a bullet to left his first at bat. It's another bullet to the left side again. Maybe they have a scouting report, Tom.
I just think it's funny. I mean,
well, look at this shift.
And now Dusty Wathan is going to go back to his charts, and he's going to put 3 infielders on the right side against Howard. And J.P. Crawford's going to be in shallow right center field as the 3rd infielder.
Why do you think it's so funny?
I guess because it's one organization playing against the same organization, and they're.
Are they on different teams?
Yeah, I guess so. 0-2. All right, but you have to find it a little funny that J.P. Crawford's in shallow right center field. We don't often see a guy in shallow right center field.
No. That is extreme. I will admit that is extreme.
Thank you, Ben, for playing along. 0-2 pitch to Howard. 1-2. Murph, do you find it entertaining that they're playing a shift against Darren Ruff and Ryan Howard? Help me out here.
I think it's smart baseball at this point.
Thank you, Greg.
Swing and a miss, and Howard strikes out.
If I was playing defensively against Ryan Howard, I would be in shallow right field too. Actually in deep right field.
Would you have full set of catching gear on as well?
If they allowed it, yeah.
Here's Carlos Ruiz. And Thompson goes to work quickly. And Carlos fouls it over the first base dugout. It's 0-1.
I did mention Chooch the other night, and I walked in today. I said, what? I said, why are you catching today? I said, no third base. He said, I was a little nervous out there. I said, I saw you taking ground balls before the game with Michael. He goes, yeah, but that's just during batting practice.
It's a little slower pace, I guess.
Yes.
Here's the 0-2 pitch to Ruiz. And he lines it into left field. That'll be in for a base hit. Williams will cut it off, and Carlos will hold up at first. A 2-out single. And that'll bring Andres Blanco to the plate.
Nice job of hitting 0-2 there by Chooch. I'm sure a pitch that Jake Thompson would love to have back.
Blanco ended the first with a fielder's choice. And a fastball in there for a strike. Jake's been about 91, 92 so far this afternoon. And as the season goes on, he'll probably be a little higher than that, but he also usually the ball's moving every which way. And we've seen that a lot today. Andres Blanco loses his bat. It skips off the top of the dugout. And it's 0-2. It looks like everybody's okay, and Andres is going to put a little of that Manny Mota stick on it. Look out, everybody.
One gentleman just batted it back over the dugout.
Chopper foul right past Mickey Morandini. Runner goes. Ruiz, a delayed steal, and the throw goes into center field. Carlos on his way to third. Roman Quinn's throw to third hits Carlos and shoots off the front of the camera well. And that's where he will stay. It'll be a stolen base, E2. And the Phillies are runner at third with 2 men down.
Chooch making it happen. And really, nothing Andrew Knapp could do. Gets this walking lead. J.P. Crawford very late getting to shortstop. Chooch taking liberties.
Yeah, Roman was awfully deep in center, so Carlos read that. 1-2 pitch to Blanco, and a swing and a miss. He is down on strikes. 4 strikeouts for Jake Thompson for the Phillies in the third. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. Yep, get your character today before the line gets long. Looks pretty good. baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Top of the 4th inning, Phillies and the Futures tied at 3. A lot of little smiles around the ballpark today. As we begin the top of the 4th, Valentin will lead it off. Take it outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Phillies acquired Valentin from the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's a former supplemental pick out of Puerto Rico. I mentioned the other night his dad Jose was a longtime major leaguer, and the Phillies would be very fortunate if his son had the same kind of big league career. Over to first base, Darren Ruff stays down on it, and 1 away here in the 4th.
That ground ball really just hugged the ground. This infield looks like it is in great shape, Tom.
Yeah, I wonder, adjustment-wise, it's probably not anywhere near as quick an infield as it was in past years because of the change in grass. I wonder if that changes sort of the style of the infielders. Roman Quinn shows bunt.
Well, Freddie Galvis and some of the infielders last year kept talking about how fast the infield was. Even Larry Boa would bring it up.
Yeah.
Very quick infield.
Roman Quinn over to left side. Blanco hadn't played perfectly. 2 outs.
And I believe if I have my facts right, last year they had a Bermuda.
Correct.
And this year it's a bent grass, is it?
I thought it was Kentucky bluegrass.
Kentucky blue. You see Larry?
Looking stylish with those red sunglasses, huh?
Very stylish.
J.P. Crawford is the batter, and he takes strike 1. It's 0-1. Crawford is 2 for 2 today. Has an RBI and a run scored. Boy, Charlie Morton is pounding the strike zone in this inning.
Last inning as well, he did give up that blooper to Tommy Joseph, but last inning 2 strikeouts and a ground ball.
And this turned out to be his easiest inning of the day. He's retired 4 consecutive batters. He has 3 strikeouts for the last 2 innings. We will go to the bottom of the 4th after an 8-pitch inning, tied up at 3. You buy Toyota. Toyota's hybrid fleet is nothing short of a home run. Visit your local Toyota dealer today and buy Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Ben, did you get your face painted today?
I did not.
You still have time.
It's a heck of a job.
It's a talent.
My kids love having that done.
Really?
They do. They love it.
Here's Emmanuel Burris, who swings at the first pitch and chops it foul. It's no balls and 1 strike.
Jake Thompson, 17 batters face, 11 first pitch strikes. You'd like to see that up maybe around 13 or 14 first pitch strikes.
Burris did bunt at that, and I guess got a piece of it. It's 0-2. Well, you know, we talk about this being just an exhibition game, but for somebody like Thompson and a lot of these players, there has to be some nerves when you kick this thing off. He certainly has been better the last couple of innings as Burris fouls it over toward the camera well.
A lot of strikes.
He's about to throw his 60th pitch of the day. Up and in.
Good location there, though. Very good location.
Burris asked for time. We mentioned he does work quickly. That one's popped up left side. J.P. Crawford, the shortstop, makes the call and makes the catch for the first out. So Emmanuel Burris is retired. Freddie Galvis is coming up. Galvis double home run his first time up. Well, the one thing about Thompson's fastball, we mentioned it probably will be a tad higher as the season goes on, but he has maintained it. I mean, it has not left 91 or 92 for this entire outing. I mean, I think that's a good thing when you can sustain it for as long a period of time as he's been able to sustain it.
A lot of that has to do with conditioning. Some guys just burn out real quickly. Some guys are able to maintain.
Threw an off-speed pitch there, and it's 2-1.
It's 2-0 change up there to Freddie. It's got to make you feel good as a pitcher. You 2-0, you think this guy's dead red. He's going to come out of his shoes and
I'm going to
pull a string.
outsmart him. He comes back again, this time with a breaking ball. And it's even now, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Over to shortstop, caught out of the air by J.P. Crawford, and there are 2 outs here in the 4th inning. Well, give Thompson credit. He allowed the 2 runs in the first and then allowed 1 more in the 2nd inning. Since that time, though, has picked up 3 strikeouts, 4 overall, but 3 strikeouts since the beginning of the 2nd. And has scattered 2 singles. Peter Borges is the batter. He's popped out twice. It's 1 ball, no strikes.
And he's been able to pitch inside effectively.
Over to third.
Kind of like that.
Yep, and Mora is able to field it, and he throws out Borges, and the side is retired. Nothing across. for the Phils. We'll go to the 5th inning. We're tied up at 3 apiece. Yes, the Xfinity Live as the Phils open their season in Cincinnati this Monday at 4:10 Eastern Time. Now, festivities begin at 3 p.m. They include appearances by the Fanatic, Phillies ball girls, Phillies alum like Tommy Green, who we saw yesterday, Greg Luzinski. Greg looked good yesterday at the Bull, didn't he?
Looks
good?
Great.
And Milt Thompson and the host of TCN's Breakfast on Broad. Go to Phillies.com/Xfinity Live for more information. Greg's Holy Cross State Championship. I think this is right. Murph, are you anywhere in the vicinity? The Holy Cross State Championship baseball team that Bull coached when Murph was in high school. They're honoring them, I believe, this year. Here's Nick Williams. And Williams sends one in the air. A towering shot to deep right center field. And it is gone. A home run for Nick Williams, who has 3 RBIs here this afternoon.
Well, I hit 2 bullets to left center. I'll try my luck in right center and see if I can get a little air under it.
That ball was way up there. Good for Nick Williams.
Up there forever. I didn't think it had enough. Did you, Tom?
I did not.
Good extension. Very good extension. The longer it's in the air, the more it's going to carry. Created enough backspin to get it out of here.
I will say that we saw signs of excellence with Nick Williams when we were in camp. He does look like a different player in these in the 2 games that we've watched up here. Would you agree with that?
He looks great. He just looks great.
And he also looks very good in the outfield. Now, he looked very good in the outfield during spring training. Oh-2 is way inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Andrew Knapp, who is 0 for 2. He's grounded out twice.
I pretty much exhausted the stay with your approach comment in spring training, but you stick with that approach, be able to trust yourself to go to left center, be quick enough to go to right center. Anything in between, it's nice to see.
There's the 1-2 pitch to Knapp. Outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Knapp spins one the opposite way. Cedric Hunter says he has it. And that's the first out here in the 5th inning. This is probably the last inning for Charlie Morton. He's only at 71 pitches, but there is bullpen action for the Phils. They anticipated he probably would throw 5 innings today. Brett Oberholzer is starting to throw in the pen. Dylan Cousins as 0 for 1. He struck out his last time. Takes down. 2 balls, no strikes. A little late on that 89-mile-an-hour pitch.
And he pulled his head off just enough.
Well, that's what you want to do when you throw the cutter, is get him to pull it off just enough.
Yep.
There's a changeup, and it's 3-1. Cousins walks for the 2nd time today. And that'll bring Brock Stassi to the plate. Bob McClure heading out to the mounds. Doesn't look like Bob's bringing in Brett Oberholzer. Looks like this is just a convo with Charlie Morton.
I'd like to have seen him challenge Cousins there. I know he's a big, strong kid and all, but a good fastball with good movement,
and he
low
does,
90s.
And he does have a good fastball today.
I'm going to take my chances. I could be way off, and maybe that's just something he wanted to work on. Maybe it was this inning. The breakdown, 30 balls and 46 strikes. Going with the walkie-talkie today. No phone, huh?
Well, the first pitch delivered to Stassi is a strike. It's 0-1.
You think they all have like call signs like the truckers on the freeway?
Knowing Bob McClure, yeah. Runner goes from first, pitches inside. Ruiz throws from his knees, and Cousins swipes second base. Cousins stole 20 bags last year. And he was able to steal that one easily.
That was a terrible pitch to throw on. And with the lefty Stassi in there, it's even harder to throw on.
Cutter, and it's 1-2. Well, he has been able to throw all of his pitches today.
Yes.
To the right side, and Morton is there to cover Burris, waits for him. Oh, he's safe at first base. Morton never did get to the bag, but it looked like he tried to tag the bag with his glove. Now that'll put runners on first and third. Well, the fact that Darren Ruff ventured as far as he did, well, it meant that it could be a timing issue over at first. I couldn't tell whether Morton hit the glove with on the bag or not. I think the Phillies are looking at it right now to see.
It's very good communication, though, between Darren Ruff and Manny Burris. The throw's there. Everything's good.
Oh, he's out.
He is out.
Yep. So they are going to review it. They have the capabilities of doing it. So they're going to take a look at the replay system and decide whether that was indeed a force play at first. I think they'll look at it, and that's what's going to happen. It'll go down as a 4-1 on the putout. I think the one angle that we showed was definitive enough that they will overturn the call on the field.
And the reason I say it's good communication between Darren and Manny out there is the fact that Darren Ruff had all his momentum going towards second base. For him to catch that ball, backhand it, plant, and then make the throw back to Charlie Morton covering first base, it's too much. It's too difficult. Manny Burris sliding to his left, attacking it.
There, Ben, the glove is on the bag, and the foot is just arriving on the first base bag. But the glove was already down on it.
Yes.
I don't know why Charlie did apply the tag. He must have come up short of the bag.
It's like he just never got there or put his foot out.
There we go. Watch it again right there. Morton's going down, and the tag is there, and now the foot's on the bag.
And you think with as many times as they do this in spring training, as many times that he's done it in his life.
Well, the umpires on the field are conferring with the folks up in New York.
I can't believe it's taking this long.
Well, it's spring training for replay also. It's the last day. They're working out some kinks. And he is out at first base. Numbers last year, there were 23% of the calls that were made that were confirmed. Nearly 50% of the calls were overturned. We didn't see many rules checks during the course of the year, but there were 12. So Pete Maccannon's going to go to the bullpen. That's going to be it for Charlie Morton. So he's going to be lifted from this game after 4 2/3 innings of work. And he's allowed 4 runs so far. The runner at third is his responsibility. So Pete is signaled to the pen. Brett Oberholzer will come on. Phillies trail it by 1 here in the top of the 5th. At the top of the 5th inning, the Phillies turn things over to Brett Oberholzer. Fans are roaming the concourse, and so is the Galapagos gang. Iggy the Iguana is loose. You'll see the Galapagos gang more often. Bessie is here as well. Bessie's not drawing the attention that Iggy is. We saw Sid the Sea Lion earlier. Sid was just hovering over the back of a gentleman who had no idea he was there. Here's Brett Oberholzer in his 6th game this spring. He will be the Phillies' long man to start the year. So Charlie Morton goes 4 2/3. He allows 7 hits. And he's charged with 4 runs so far. Tommy Joseph, the batter, he's 1 for 2. Reached on a single his last time up. Out in front of an off-speed pitch. It's 0-1. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Out front again, 0-2.
Good pitch. Not only was the speed good, but the movement on that changeup very good.
Freddie Galvis and Andres Blanco confer, and it'll be Galvis who makes the call, and the catch in the side is retired. But Nick Williams, his third RBI of the day. This one came with the long ball variety, has given the Futures a 4-3 lead. That was a towering shot. We'll go to the bottom of the fifth here in Philadelphia. Futures lead the Phillies 4-3. Folks are pretty busy out in Chickies and Pete's. Well, we mentioned this earlier. The MLBpipeline.com Phillies top prospects. Out of the top 100, J.P. Crawford is number 5. Jake Thompson is number 55. Nick Williams is number 64. Although Williams, the way he's looked today, he might get up on that chart a little bit, as Tyler Goodell leads things off against Jake Thompson here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Goodell is 1 for 2. Joe Jordan, the Phillies Director of Player Development, joins us up here in the booth. And I said to you during the break, Joe, Nick Williams looks like a totally different player than what we saw in spring training.
Looks like a pretty good hitter today.
He looks like a very good hitter today.
Yeah.
You happy with what you've seen these few days?
It's been great. You know, it's been great. Obviously, the other night was a tough night for the pitchers in Reading, but the guys have had a good time. I mean, I've had a lot of conversation with them since they've been here, and it's been a good trip.
One of the things that we talked about is just what they would get out of this. And I'm not sure if you even knew what they would get out of it. Have you learned what they've gotten out of it so far?
Well, you know, I think anytime you get them in a big league setting, big league ballpark, get them around the players. I like getting guys out of their comfort zone, you know, getting them out of the routine a little bit and just see who looks relaxed, you know, who looks like they're going to enjoy it and who's a little uptight. It's all part of the process, you know.
You know, Joe, we look at the prospects, and yes, it's pretty evenly matched with regards to position players and pitchers. And, you know, we know championships are built around pitching and defense, but you're not going to win a lot of games you don't score. Right. But that's what I like to see, the prospects, and their approaches have been great.
Really, it's been good to see. I mean, I think we've had some good at bats. You know, they've worked some counts. Some guys have gotten down 2 strikes, and they've hung in there and battled through it. And we have some players that have a chance to be good offensive players, you know, major league offensive players one day. And so we've got a good group to work with. We just got to keep them going.
Well, how impressed have you been? And I know you have been impressed with him since he's come over from the Rangers, but what Jake Thompson's done today, I think Butterfly's got him in the first a little bit, but since that time, he's just been pounding the strike zone.
He's been really good. And you know, it looked like to me the first couple of innings he couldn't find his breaking ball.
That's what Bren was saying, yeah.
It happens a lot. You know, they get that Major League Baseball in their hands for the first time, but the third inning, fourth inning is a lot better. His slider's been a better breaking ball, you know, better than his curveball.
Is this what you saw over the last year since the Phillies picked him up? Something like close to this?
The last 2 innings, that's what we've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And what you mentioned, the breaking ball, but he's been able to throw that and his changeup behind in the count, which you'd love to see out of younger guys.
Well, just the last inning, he evened the count with a breaking ball and a changeup. You know, he was down 2-0. He went changeup, I think, breaking ball,
Freddie.
and he evened the count. So that's what you want to see him be able to do.
All right, away from the Phillies futures players, I'm sure you've seen Cedric Hunter with the Braves organization the last couple of years. You've been impressed with what you watched in spring training?
I have. I mean, obviously Cedric has impressed everyone. I saw him in high school, you know, many years ago.
Oh, really?
When I was still scouting. So it's good. You know, it's a good story, and you know, he's earned everything he's gotten.
Well, here's Darren Ruff with 1 out and a runner over at first base as Thompson delivers, and he throws a breaking ball inside. It's 1-0. We can point out just what's happened here today and like bring up this guy or that guy because it's been easy. Dylan Cousins out in right field, the throw that he made, is that what you expect from him?
Well, that's a part of Dylan's game that he's got to keep a priority. It's funny, he and I talked about his throwing last night. He asked me about his throwing before the game because we were really working on that. It's a point of emphasis for him, and sometimes, you know, he'll spend as much time as you want in the cage, but he hasn't found that routine that he really gets that part of his game, gives it the attention it needs. But it's just funny that he and I talked about it last night, and you can see he gave a little fist pump when he did it. It is important to him. He's just got to learn, you know, what he needs to do day in and day out, week after week, to keep that sharp and where it needs to be.
Is he a right fielder, you think?
He's going to play one or the other. I mean, I think he may end up settling in left, but either works, you know, if we can get the bat ready.
We saw the other night that he's got power.
No, he does.
If he hits, they'll find a spot for him somewhere.
Darren Ruff is the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. All right, let's talk about Nick Williams because his swing, I thought the last 2 games down in Clearwater before he went down, was starting to come around, and now we've seen in the 2 games here, the 1 game in Reading, the 1 game here at Citizens Bank Park, that I mean, he is pretty fluid through the strike zone.
I think the first 2 at bats that you saw tonight is what Nick needs to be able to do. If he'll stay in the left center gap, and you know, he will be able to pull the ball. I mean, but he backspun the ball to right, because for me the first 2 at bats were beautiful swings to the left center gap. Got plenty of bat speed to get to any fastball.
Well, Joe is going to join us as we come back for the top of the 6th inning as Darren Ruff is thrown out, trying to go from first to second. Still a 1-run lead for the Futures. Field at his first at bat. This is a double that drove in the first run for the Futures. That brought home J.P. Crawford, who reached on an infield single. And then in the 5th inning, boy, he just got a pitch that he liked. It was up in the zone, and it was a shot as high as it was far out to right center field.
Good looking swings, and let's not forget about the bullet he hits to center field for the sac fly.
So, Joe, I know you've been talking to different folks at Reading, and Joe Jordan joins us up here in the booth, Reading and Lehigh Valley and Clearwater and everybody like that, about where guys are going to start for the upcoming year. Where's Nick going to start? Have you officially decided where that is?
He'll be in Lehigh Valley.
All right. Yeah. So he ended the year in Reading after the Phillies acquired him, so now he makes the progression to Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, he got a full year in Double-A.
Yep.
So
now we look at him, and today he looks like he should be the starting left fielder for the big club. he's had a great day at the plate. What is one, maybe two things that you'd like to see him improve on?
For me, it's just consistency. I think he still has a lot of room to become a better base runner, more of a threat on the bases. And you know, outfield, he's fine. For me, it's just focus, consistency. I mean, really, I think for the most part, that's what we're trying to build in the minor leagues, is just consistency. And they all show you from time to time that they have what they need. It's just day in and day out. You know that better than I do.
Yes.
Here's Valentin, who pulls it foul. And it's no balls and one strike. Ben played with Valentin's dad. I worked with them for a couple of years as well. It would be nice if he has his dad's power eventually, huh?
Yeah, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah. How good is Yasmiel going to be, or how good is he right now?
Well, he's a very good baseball player. You know, for me, he's got a good sense of who he is, what he does, and how he can help a club. And you know, unfortunately, we didn't see him a lot last year. I mean, our looks and the time we've had to really work with him, somewhat limited. But he's a good baseball player. He's got a chance to be a good major league player.
And he's playing second now. His dad played second. His dad played a little bit of third too, but he's a second baseman.
Correct.
Yeah.
We'll play him a little bit at short because we want to, you know, I think it helps us and helps him to be able to do that, but he's primarily our second baseman.
All right, well, here's Roman Quinn, who I know a lot of folks have been talking about the last year before he got injured last season. Had a good year going with the Reading Phillies. He'll start again at Reading this year?
Correct.
And what are some of the things you're looking for him to work on as he gets ready for another start in Reading?
I just want him to stay healthy, really. I mean, there's not a part of his game that isn't getting better. You know, really starting for the last year. I mean, he's really grown. He knows himself more than he ever has. We just got to keep him on the field.
I've only seen him hit left-handed.
I'm the same
Stick
way.
from the right side, pretty good.
Well,
boy, he can run.
yeah, he's it's his natural side. You know, when Roman signed, all he had to learn how to do was switch hit and learn to play shortstop.
Right.
Other than that, he was like the rest of them. You know, that's all we put on him. But he's back in center now. But it's his natural side, and you know, he just doesn't get as many at bats that way now.
Well, Joe, we appreciate it. This has been fun. I mean, first watching it in Reading, but now watching it here at Citizens Bank Park. We'll talk to you again later on this year.
Look forward to it.
All right, Joe Jordan, our guest up here in the booth. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th inning here in Philadelphia. The Future's on top by 1. Tuesday, April 12th is McDonald's opening night here at Citizens Bank Park, and the McDonald's opening night t-shirt free to fans 15 and older. It's also a Hatfield Dollar Dog Night. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Well, it's turned out to be a good day here in Philadelphia. Overcast, but it's a good day for a little baseball. And what is the start of a busy day in Philadelphia. Bottom of the 6th inning, we got changes for the Phils futures. That's Carlos Tocci, who is taking over in center field. Jorge Alfaro will take over behind the plates. And Pinto, as we mentioned, will be the new pitcher for the Phils as he takes over for Jake Thompson. Thompson goes 5 innings here this afternoon. He allowed 3 runs. Jake pitched well, particularly the last 3 innings.
I think what you said, he did have a little bit of nerves in the first couple innings, but he really did settle down.
Yeah. And again, consistent with his velocity the entire time. Here's Cesar Hernandez to pinch hit. And the first pitch is just a bit outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Cesar has had himself a good spring, getting ready to be the leadoff hitter on Monday when the Phillies start the season in Cincinnati. Off-speed pitch. That's a pretty good off-speed pitch. Was that a sinker?
It
looked
was.
Like it was. He was way out in front of it. There was the off-speed pitch. Ricardo Pinto is out of Venezuela. The Phillies signed him in 2011. Last year, he won 15 games between Lakewood and Clearwater. Outside again. He received the Paul Owens Award for the Phillies Pitcher of the Year in this farm system last year. Overall, during his minor league career, he has a minuscule 2.77 earned run average. Hernandez floats one out towards center field. Tocci is under it, and he makes the catch, 1 out. Oh, we mentioned it's a busy day in Philadelphia. The Flyers are playing right now across the street against the Senators, and a full recap of Villanova's Final Four matchup with Oklahoma later on tonight on Sportsnet Central. Plus, they'll make the playoff picture maybe a little clearer for the Flyers. Plus, Sixers and Union highlights. No more, no a lot, no it all. Watch a very busy Chevrolet Sportsnet Central tonight at 10. Flyers are up 2-1. They're in intermission.
They must be getting pucks in deep, Tom.
Yes, they are. That goal for Ottawa, did that happen at the end of the second period?
Yes.
Okay. Because it was 2-0 the last time I looked. Ruiz takes low. 2 balls, no strikes to Carlos. Outside, 3-0. Carlos hits it sharply. What a play by Mora on one hop. Oh, man. And he easily gets the throw across the diamond for out number 2. That was a big league play right there.
This is just quick feet, soft hands. Casual toss to first. But that's 2 at-bats in a row. Chooch has scolded the baseball, which you love to see. But that was a great play by Moore at third base. Well done.
So now with 2 away, Andres Blanco, who is 0 for 2. And a strike, and it's 0-1. James Russell warming up in the bullpen. We didn't talk to Joe about this here, but we've talked to him about this in other meetings. We're watching the pace of play, the pace of Jake Thompson, the pace of Pinto. This is what they're trying to implement down in the minor leagues. You know, no fiddling around, just getting the ball and being confident enough that you're going to throw it. Mora is under it, makes the catch. I mean,
it makes for uncomfortable at bats. You don't like to feel rushed to the batter's box.
And it's obvious, too, just watching it. So Pinto, in his debut here at Citizens Bank Park, throws a 1-2-3, bottom of the 6th. Bills as we go to the top of the 7th inning. Cameron Rupp will take over behind the plate for the Phillies. There's Cam. And James Russell will take over on the mound. Russell in his 8th game. He'll be working out of the bullpen for the Phillies as a left-hander. 2.70 ERA so far this spring. Well, there's a lot of things going on that are different here at Citizens Bank Park, particularly from a food standpoint. And who better to tell us about it than Greg Murphy? Murph?
Who better indeed, because I am hungry at this point in the ball game. So, yeah, let me say hello to Chef Vonnie, who is the executive chef here at Citizens Bank Park. And, man, oh, man, you have outdone yourself. And these are all new items here at the ballpark.
Size of that brisket.
Yeah, very good that you knew that was brisket. Let's go through this, Chef Vonnie, because there's a couple of things that folks will know, and I'm looking at the Chick-fil-A sandwich here, but there's some other stuff that maybe folks will not know about.
Correct. Chick-fil-A is a new partner, so they'll be available throughout the ballpark. We're also doing the Andrew Zimmern pork belly sandwich, Korean-style pork belly sandwich. We're doing a house-smoked brisket. We smoke it for about 8 hours. We're also doing a fresh turkey burger, fresh ground turkey burger, for a healthier option for a burger. And we're also featuring 2 hot dogs. We're doing the South Philly dog, which has broccoli rabe and sharp provolone. And we're also doing a beer braised hot dog on a pretzel roll with whole grain mustard and braised onions.
I'll tell you what, guys, get a good look at these hot dogs. Seth, if you can get a... Now, you come to the ballpark to get a hot dog, right? This is a hot dog. The
That's
South
a
Philly.
hot dog.
I mean, it is just unbelievable what they've done with these items. It is not your father's hot dog, that's for sure. You mentioned the Andrew Zimmer pork belly. That sounds outrageous. Pork belly, it's just like really like bacon on steroids, right?
It's a really good sandwich. It's a Korean style, so we double fry it. It has a spicy barbecue sauce on it, grilled pineapple. It's a really good sandwich. We've had great reviews on it, and it's being well received.
You had me at double fried, by the way. Yeah, I was in on that.
Not the healthiest option, but it's a delicious sandwich.
You had us on bacon with steroids.
That's right. That's right. So you can have the pork belly double fried, the bacon on steroids, and then come over for the healthier option, which is your turkey burger. And the best part about this is all of this food that you're seeing here is available throughout the concourse. Anybody has access to this food.
Correct. Either throughout the concourse, or some of the items are specific for Harry the Case, but they're on the main concourse.
All right, so if you're coming down to the ballpark, and I know that folks that come here on a regular basis know that the food here is terrific, thanks to the chef and his staff, but here are some of the new items this year, and there's plenty more, and we'll get to all of that at some point, over the next couple of weeks. But here's a good jumping off point. And guys, before I send it back, I didn't want to eat this all by myself, so we had the great folks here at Citizens Bank Park send it up to the booth as well. So everything you're seeing here, you got a shot to. Ben, go to town. I know you need to.
Double fried pork belly. Yeah. Rita's is here as well.
Meanwhile, we almost got smoked by a ball.
That's right. If it knocked us out,
We
we'd
know what's
survive
more
for a few
important,
days.
though, don't we? Oh, delightful.
There's the
right.
2 dogs.
Since you are the elder statesman, Tom, I'll let you pick out whatever
Am
you would
I older
like.
than you are?
A couple months, I think.
Okay.
Wow. Look at all this stuff.
Well, here I'm gonna let you have that because I know you're gonna want that. That's the double fried pork belly.
Okay.
Murph's having the brisket.
I'm going with the brisket. Yeah.
All right. Is this the brisket right here? How is it, Murph? Murph, you need a napkin.
It's delicious. Yeah, I do. Chef, we didn't have any napkins. That's okay. I feel like
I'm going to
Guy
go with the
Fieri.
federal
What is that, Ben, that you have there?
Federal chicken.
What is it?
Federal chicken.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll take that. I'm just kidding.
You can have it, partner.
Here's Alfaro, who fouls it off to the right. Well, in between innings, we will partake.
Is that the burger?
That's the turkey burger, right? Yeah, this is the turkey burger. We have plenty up here. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Chick-fil-A. It'll stay warm in the bag. 0-1 to Alfaro with a runner at first base. That's Poulin. On the inside corner, no balls and 2 strikes.
How did Poulin get on?
Bob, how did Poulin get on? Did he walk?
He walked.
Yeah. I was too busy watching the sauce drip off Murph's chin. Alfaro sends one out toward left center field. On the run is Hunter, and boy, he got a great jump.
Very
didn't he?
good jump.
Track that down in the alleyway. Back to first base goes Poulin.
Very good jump.
And with 2 outs here in the top of the 7th.
Comes off the bat, very hot. You see Cedric just really catches this ball with ease. For the second out of the inning. Apparently I'm doing play-by-play the rest of the inning, Tom.
Boy, that's really good. Here's Aaron Brown. Aaron Brown hit over 500 this year in spring training. Out front. We didn't get a chance to talk to Joe about Aaron, but Joe said that Aaron Brown has a chance to be a very special player. He's an outfielder.
We have a visitor.
Yes, we do. 0-2.
Thanks, guys.
Where'd he go?
Oh, the quick exit.
How about he has a napkin hanging down? 0-2 to Aaron Brown. In the dirt, Rupp blocks it.
I don't know how, but he did.
He had to see that coming from the get-go. I mean, as a catcher, you're sitting there thinking,
That was young Matthew.
Brown's gotten a buffet of, speaking of food, a buffet of off-speed pitches here. And he's out in front of another one. Rupp blocks it. And the side is retired. No runs, no hits, and one man left. The headset is off, so Ben's going to go to town just as Murph wraps it up. We should time Murph and see how long it takes him to eat all that food. Here's the first bite. Boy, his hands were shaking. It was so good. Time to stretch here in Philadelphia. Between the Phillies and the Futures, as we go to the bottom of the seventh inning, it's 4-3. Futures on top. Jake Thompson won 5 innings. He allowed 8 hits and 3 runs. Charlie Morton, meanwhile, allowed 4 earned runs and 4 2/3 for the Phils as he tuned up and got himself ready for opening day, or his first start, I should say, which will be Game 3. Pinto getting ready to pitch his second inning. He worked a 1-2-3 6th inning. He'll face Emmanuel Burris, Freddie Galvis, and then the top of the order. And the first pitch to Burris. Little dribbler to the left of the mound. Pinto off the hill quickly, gets his bearings. And nice play by Hoskins, who took over at first base to make that play. 1 out. There's Rhys Hoskins. We saw him start the other night.
Very cat-like off the mound there by Pinto. Throughout the speedy burst. I know it's a little chilly today, but it ended up being not too bad.
Yeah, nice crowd too, considering everything that's going on around the Philadelphia area today. All the youth sports, high school sports that have started. As Galvis takes a little low, it's 1 ball, no strikes.
Opening day of trout season in PA.
Opening day of trout season, that was next on my list. As Galvis takes on the outside corner. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike to Freddie. Freddie is 1 for 2. He's doubled and drove in a run. He's also lined out to shortstop. And Galvis fouls it away. By the way, what was that you're reading? You're reading the federal chicken?
It is excellent.
What kind of federal chicken is it?
It's just a big chunk of fried chicken with some cheese on it. Looks like some special sauce, a little buffalo sauce. It's delightful.
Outside, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Galvis.
The water ice is very good from Rita's.
Rita's always is. Drove by one the other day, and the line was just 3-2 pitch to Galvis, and he pulls it foul past Mickey Morandini.
This is one thing I've noticed from Freddie, though, as you alluded to it earlier, but he struggled early on in spring. Saw him swinging at bad pitches in the dirt, but he's been able to, over the last, I'd say 10 games or so, put better at bats together, fouling pitches off, hitting balls harder when he's putting them in play.
Yeah, there's ball 4, so he works out a walk. First base runner allowed by Pinto. Total Phillies opening day coverage is only on Comcast Sportsnet. Watch the 2016 Phillies start a new season against the Reds. Get live reports from Cincinnati, plus exclusive interviews and expert analysis. Get Total Phillies opening day coverage Monday starting at 3, only on CSN. Peter Borges taps one foul. Got to hurt a little bit.
Off the back foot. You don't see that often.
Phillies trying to tie this one up. They're down by 1 here in the bottom of the 7th inning. The 0-1 pitch coming to Borges. And he lifts it into shallow left field. Poulin comes running in, and he makes the call on the catch, and there are 2 outs. Poulin, who pinch hit, stays in the game to play left field for Nick Williams. There he is. So it's Poulin in left field. Tochi's in center. He came in before. We had pointed that out last inning. And Aaron Brown is around in right field. Aaron also came on the pinch hit. There's Aaron Brown. And Tochi just 20, I think he's going to be 21 years old. Tyler Goodell is 1 for 3 this afternoon. Swing and a miss. Pinto has absolutely no fear at all out on the mound. I mean, he is going right after these hitters.
You can see he's got a good changeup too. Obviously a lot of life with that fastball, but
Opposite way, another base hit for Goodell. Galvis will stop at second as Aaron Brown gets it in quickly. And that'll put runners on first and second, and Cedric Hunter will be the batter. First hit allowed by Pinto in his inning in 2/3.
Tyler's swing really does stay in the strike zone for a long time. It's quick, but I'm saying it stays on plane, I should say, on plane through the strike zone a long time, but it's quickly through there.
Well, and you can't say that he's a pull hitter at all. I mean,
no.
He is an opposite field hitter.
I think if he does get something slow and up, he'll definitely pull it. But if you take a look at his swing, it's just very fluid. It stays in that zone.
Well, Cedric Hunter has 2 hits today. He was thinking fastball, and he got a breaking pitch from Pinto. No balls and 1 strike. Threw him another breaking ball. 0-2.
You triple up here?
Well, you've had him so off balance with the first 2. I don't know, maybe you throw it in the dirt.
Yeah, you just go a little bit lower.
Well, he tried it again. He didn't go as low. And that one's pulled down the right field line. Look out.
I just saw on the Twitterverse that Pete Incaviglia, 52 years young today.
Really? Happy birthday, Inky. Does it make you feel old?
It does.
How do you think he feels? There's a line drive right back to the box, knocked down by Pinto, and he throws out Cedric Hunter. No runs, 1 hit, and 2 men left. Solid 2 innings by Pinto. We'll head to the 8th with the Futures up 1. Oh, the scouts were honored before the start of the ball game today. They got a chance to walk around the warning track last night and tonight. I'm not sure if they were more happy about that or the fact that they got to do a little dance with the Philly Fanatic down in the Diamond Club. I don't know if the Fanatic can keep up with them.
A lot of energy.
Well, now David Hernandez will take over for the Phils. Hernandez in his 5th game this spring. He's thrown 4 innings so far. I know that Pete has talked about having a closer by committee, something he said he wasn't going to do at the start of the spring. With Andrew Belli going out, at least for the time being, with Hinojosa struggling the last few outings, I think Hernandez is probably going to get the first look out of the bullpen as the closer. As Hoskins tried to check his swing, they appeal. He went around as the first base umpire. No balls and 2 strikes. Hoskins, who was playing first base, he was the DH the other night. Last year hit .319, 17 home runs, 90 runs batted in, combined between Lakewood and Clearwater. The other day, he reached on a hit past Maikel Franco at third, struck out a couple times. This past offseason, Hoskins spent the winter in Sydney, Australia, at over 300 with 8 home runs. Lays off a breaking ball, 1-2.
Can't help but think about the movie Finding Nemo when I hear Sydney. Our oldest son watched that movie.
Out toward right field. That's well hit. Going back on it is Borges to the wall, and it's gone. An opposite field home run for Hoskins. And it's now a 5-3 Futures lead. You want to talk about opposite field power.
Woo. Bullet. It got out in a hurry. Nice little leg kick. It's a simple swing, Tom.
Yeah.
Very simple, but really drives that ball out. I mean, there's no wind. Strong.
So now it'll bring Tommy Joseph to the plate. Actually, Joseph's hit the ball well his last time up. He skies this one to deep left center field. It's off the wall, and that's going to be trouble. Joseph doesn't run all that well, but he's going to get at least 3 out of this one. And he's going to be there standing. That's something that Cedric Hunter is going to have to learn, is that little cutout in left center field. If the ball goes off that wall, there's a good chance if you don't field it, it's going to be a 3-base hit. And Tommy Joseph has 2 hits here this afternoon.
One where we saw Andrew McCutchen a couple years ago hit one off that wall, balling it up in the right center field gap. Easy inside the Parker for Andrew McCutchen, but pretty much the same thing here. Really no chance of getting that ball. You see the mark on the wall. Unless Cedric is Spider-Man, he's not going to get to that one.
Well, Tyler Goodell fortunately got there quickly. The last time we saw McCutchen do it, Grady Sizemore didn't get back there quickly to back up, and it turned out to be an inside the park home run easily. So here is Walding up for the first time today. Mitch Walding started at third the other day. Tommy Joseph, Joe Jordan said the other day, was one of the great surprises of spring training, and how he's bounced back offensively as he learns to play first base. A lot of people thought at this point Pete Mackanin might see him as his everyday catcher, if not for those concussions. Inside, 2-1. In the dirt. Three balls and 1 strike.
I wouldn't say the infield is completely in, knowing that Tommy Joseph doesn't run all that well.
To the left side, Blanco backs up on it, peeks Joseph back to third. Good dig out at first by Darren Ruff. 5-3 on the putout and one away. And Scott Kingery will be the batter. Roy Bau, who is pitching for the Phillies today, is warming up in the pen. And now the infield will come in to the edge of the grass. Breaking ball a little high, and it's 1-0.
Definitely a difference in depth of the positioning of the infielders here. They're well on the dirt before when Walding was up.
2-0. Velocity's good for Hernandez, but command not as good as he would like it to be at this point. Popped up left side into foul territory. Blanco is there, and he makes the catch. There are 2 outs, and Carlos Tocci will be the batter.
Be nice if David could get out of this. He did give up the solo homer to Hoskins to lead off the inning, then the triple, but he could get out of this with just the 1 run.
So now Tocci, just 20 years old, to be 21 in August, takes inside. 1 ball, no strikes out of Venezuela. A little bit of a delayed call, but it did look like it was a strike. And it's 1-1.
It was awkward. There's an awkward pause there.
A little less of a pause on that one.
Yes.
Breaking ball and a call. Strike 3. Tocci's down looking. Side is retired. However, Rhys Hoskins showed some opposite field power with a line drive home run to begin the 8th inning. We'll move to the bottom of the 8th, and the Phillies trail the Futures 5-3. The Nationals come to town for a 3-game series beginning Friday, April 15th. That is the salute to Jackie Robinson. It wraps up on Sunday the 17th. It's the Citizens Bank Fanatic birthday. Also on Saturday the 16th, Turkey Hill Kids opening night. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. All right, Ben, no fooling around now.
No.
Phillies are down by 2. So Jackie Robinson's retired, number 42. As we go to the bottom of the 8th inning, and Pinto in his 3rd inning of work. Darren Ruff again to the left side. Walding has it. And there's one away.
Now, they didn't have the giant shift on them that time.
I think it depends on the pitcher. That's what the scouting reports show. By the way, we haven't talked much about the staff that's here. Dusty Wathan in the middle. He's the manager. He'll be in Reading again for a 5th consecutive year. Frank Cacciatore, who'll be the hitting coach in Reading. And Dave Lundquist is the pitching coach at Lehigh Valley, who is here as well. Phillies have great staffs in their farm system. Dusty, you played with him, right?
Yes, played against him.
Played against him. His dad was a very good catcher in the big leagues and a manager as well for the Royals. Dusty's done a heck of a job coming through the Phillies system as a skipper.
Good baseball man.
Yep, Eastern League Manager of the Year last year. And you know he's been in Reading for a while because he's on the verge of passing Bill Dancy as the all-time winningest manager in Reading history. And Bill was a huge part of the Phillies organization for a long time. 2-1 to Cesar Hernandez. Fly to center is only time up. Pulls that to first. Hoskins has got it. 2 outs.
Lundy was telling me a story. We were teammates a while ago. And he said, do you remember when you took your glove off? I'm out on the mound. You took your glove off and you went 3, 2, 1, and you put your fingers in your ears? Like, get ready for the explosion.
Why would you do that?
I said, Lundy, I do not remember that. He goes, well, you did it. I said, well, I don't remember doing it with you.
You didn't remember doing it with him?
I did it. I don't remember doing it with him, but there are a couple other pitchers I used to do it with. Guys that I know that wouldn't take offense to it.
Well, although at 6'5", 200 whatever you are, I don't think you really cared if they took offense to it. Cameron Rupp waves at the 0-1 pitch. It's 0-2. Cameron down the right field line. That'll slice toward the corner and out of play. Oh, 2 pitch. Fouled back. Inside. Back toward the middle, and that's going to sneak into center field. A base hit for Cameron Rupp. So the Phillies down by 2 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. We'll bring Andres Blanco to the plate.
They say B by Cameron. I've never seen a pitcher before. I'm sure Cameron's never faced Pinto. Got down 0-2, fouled a few off. I've really liked what I've seen out of Pinto today.
Oh, I think he's, I mean,
Really have.
He won 15 games last year between two levels. He's not overpowering by any stretch, but he's mixing his pitches.
Yeah.
With very little fear.
I've seen 3 good pitches.
Over to the right side. And it's 0-1 Andres. Andres is 0 for 3.
I think definitely his out pitch, though, is that changeup. Maybe he's just having a good day with it, but it just seems like he's got good arm action on it and has some hitters way out in front.
I think that's. I think you're right about that. Well, there is the off-speed pitch that Ben was talking about. It runs the count to 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Straight change. And he's got just enough on that heater where you have to respect that as well.
Blanco out front. Kingery on the run into foul territory. And that'll drop. A foul ball. He just couldn't get to the spot to get himself settled to make that catch.
Just out of reach. May have had it if he had one of those big old outfielder's gloves.
That one's pulled down the right field line. See if Andres is timing him more. Off the end of the bat, that's flared into center field. That'll drop for a base hit. Cameron Rupp will stop at second. Phillies have the tying runs aboard. And Emmanuel Burris will bat here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Another really nice at bat. Phillies hitters sticking with their approach.
Emmanuel Burris is 1 for 3, singled and scored, popped out and grounded out. And Burris fouls it off to the left and out of play. Pinto will begin the year. It looks like with the Reading Phils. How about his numbers last year during the month of August? He was 4-0 in 4 starts, had an ERA of 0.73. You want to talk about finishing strong.
Jeez.
Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike.
When a lot of guys are running out of gas.
That's what I was thinking.
He turned it up a notch.
He's listed at just 6 feet tall. You know, and you stand next to him, he looks a little bigger than that. It might just be a hair bigger than that.
Now, when you say a hair, do you literally mean a hair?
Depends on hair. I wouldn't say that describing my hair.
I'm sorry, Tom.
Why is everybody laughing up here in the booth? Runners lead off first and second. And Burris skies it to shallow right. Kingery says he has it. Backpedaling and makes the catch. And the Phillies are retired here in the 8th inning. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left. On to the 9th. One last inning. Follow Phillies insider Jim Salisbury on Twitter and on CSNPhilly.com. Murph was holding off on trying the new burgers and sandwiches from Wayback's here at the ballpark. You know, they've added to their menu because he will not do that unless Jim Salisbury is in the house, because that would not be fair. Jim is off these last couple days, but we will see him in Cincinnati. Rainier Roybal will be the new pitcher for the Phils. 5 games this spring. He threw the ball well. See his numbers, a 1.29 ERA. And he's coming on to pitch here in the top of the 9th inning. Phillies trail at 5-3. The Phillies have 11 hits. Their futures have 9 hits. And Roybal, his responsibility is to keep it right where it is. Give the big club a chance to come from behind in the top half of the 9th inning.
And I like Roybal's stuff.
I do too.
He's got good stuff.
Well, Pete McCadden has liked what he has seen this spring from his ball club and is hoping, and he is optimistic. You know, last year the Phillies lost 99 games. He's realistic, but he's also optimistic that the team is going to be better this year. And he's seen that just from their preparation during the spring.
As well, he should be optimistic.
First pitch is hit down the right field line. Long run for Borges into foul territory, and it's 0-1.
Because we've seen a lot of signs of what could be.
Right.
I thought Pete ran a great camp and his coaching staff. I really do. I think they got a lot out of it. I think they kept the enthusiasm up, which is not easy for 6 weeks.
Well, and they had some battles going on too. I know the way some of those battles finished up, some of the players who would have preferred to have gone the other way, but they did have battles. They gave guys opportunities. And he's also been realistic with some of the players that have gone out, whether it be Adam Morgan, who was fantastic during the spring, or even Andrew Bailey last night. And say, listen, these guys are going to be back up here. We are going to see them at one point or another this season. And there's a strikeout for Ball, and one away here in the 9th. Pullen's up for the second time. He walked his last time up. Pulls that one foul. Up the first base line.
Obviously, it's different because we're here at Citizens Bank Ballpark, but it just feels like it shouldn't be spring training anymore.
You got your fill of games so far? Pull it, takes low and in, 1-1.
I mean, think about it. It technically still is spring training.
It is. For at least another few hours. Major League Baseball begins tomorrow. The rematch of the World Series, the Royals and the Mets. And then the Phillies will begin on Monday in Cincinnati. 1 ball and 1 strike to Poole, who last year led the Florida State League in home runs with 14. 36 extra base hits overall. He had 73 runs batted in. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Pulls out to second base. Burris down to a knee, has it. And there are 2 outs.
Wasn't your textbook fundamentally sound way to field a ground ball, but got the job done. Just caught me off guard. He kind of took a knee and fielded to the side.
All right, normally if you're going to take a knee, you're going to field it with 2 hands. Nope.
Yeah, I just
in front of you.
Exactly. But he took a knee and fielded off his left kneecap. Different.
And they do things differently in Washington, D.C. Alfaro flied out to left center field, his only time up on a nice play by Cedric Hunter. Hunter Nation got himself a good jump to track down that fly ball. Two balls and 1 strike to Alfaro. Inside, and it's 3-1. How about some of the players that are going to be in Reading again this year? I mean, Lehigh Valley, yes. Lehigh Valley is going to have an excellent pitching staff. Reading's going to have Alfaro, Quinn, J.P. Crawford, Cousins in right field and or left field. 3-1 pitch. Back toward the middle. Flagged down by Rabal. And the side is retired. 1-3 on the putout. Last chance for the Phils. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th inning. That guy right there is going to kick it off when we return. The 9th inning here at Citizens Bank Park. Well, here's our upcoming schedule. It includes the first 5 games of the regular season on Comcast Sportsnet. It starts on Monday with a first pitch of 4:10. We'll be on the air at 4 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins on Comcast Sportsnet at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Off day on Tuesday. That's built in case there's bad weather. And And then Sunday night, 7 o'clock, 7:05 first pitch. And then a day game on Thursday, day game on Friday, as the Phillies will be the opponent for the Mets home opener next Friday at Citi Fields. Well, Pinto is trying to close this game out. He and Jake Thompson have scattered 11 hits this afternoon for the Phils' future. We didn't think they would use just 2 pitchers the way the game began. Jake Thompson settled in after allowing 2 runs in the first. And now Pinto has allowed 3 hits and a walk through 3 innings of work. And we'll face Freddie Galvis to start it off. Galvis takes outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Freddie today is 1 for 2. He walked his last time up, doubled to left center his first time up. Rolls over on that pitch. Oh, nice bunt up the third base line. Walding bare hands, no chance. Phils have a base runner, which means the tying run is coming to the plate here in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Just beautiful. It was a bit hard, but the placement was just perfect.
I think because the way Walding was shaded off the line too, it made it a lot easier for him.
It's a great play. One way to get it going, Tom.
Well, now Borges is 0 for 4. Shows bunt. Into left field on a chopper. Yeah, that puts runners on first and second with nobody out. And Tyler Goodell will be the hitter. Now, in normal games, with runners on first and second and nobody out in the bottom of the 9th inning, Goodell would probably be up there to bunt, correct? Move the runners into scoring position.
I believe so, yes.
This is not a normal game, so I would expect that he's going to swing away, but we'll see.
But
we are closer to
we
the
are
start.
close. We are close. In fact, I don't know if you're going to get any closer.
No, we're
than the bottom of the 9th.
Yeah, we're inching. Yeah. Nope, he's not squaring, so he takes inside. 1 ball and no strikes. Goodell doubled to right field his first time up, single to right field his last time. Popped up. Hoskins, he may have room. He's under it. And he makes the catch. Galvis tagging from second. The throw is cut off. And now a race to get Borges. And Borges, with some heads-up base running, goes to second base. And that'll put runners on second and third.
Always thinking ahead. That thought wasn't even in my mind, Tom.
No, I was surprised.
It wasn't in my
see
mind.
It. Yeah.
To Hoskins' credit, he came up firing like he knew Freddie Galvis was tagging up.
Borges knew that he would win that foot race, knowing where Caneo was standing on the cutoff.
That's just great base running.
Cedric Hunter, the batter, with 2 runners in scoring position. He skies one to shallow center field. Caneo is under it, and Galvis will go back to third. So the Phils down to their final out here in the 9th inning. I'll give credit to the Futures pitching staff. They have not allowed a run since the 2nd inning. Pinto's able to close this out. It's 7 consecutive scoreless innings. Runners lead off. Breaking ball. 0-1 to Darren. Darren today has hit the ball hard, but is 1 for 4 with an RBI.
Nice first pitch breaking ball there by Pinto.
One ball, one strike. I don't think you know what pitch he's going to throw. I mean, he definitely pitches backwards and really uses it to his advantage.
Normally you don't see younger arms, younger pitchers have 2 good off-speed pitches. The changeup is very, very good, and the breaking ball is very, very good. And again, you have to respect his low 90s heater.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Runners lead off second and third. Phil's down by 2. They have 13 hits today. And now time is called. Well, we may see those faces again in the very near future. One-two pitch. Out toward right center field. That's well hit. Going back on it is Brown. It is off the top of the wall. We're going to be tied up. Darren Ruff on his way to second. He'll be there standing. It's a 2-run opposite field double. It's a 5-5 game.
Ball was peppered.
Well, Darren Ruff is wrapping up what has been a very effective spring training for him. It's probably the best he's looked in spring training during his time in a Phillies uniform.
To all fields, and watch how close. Look at this tight swing. You mentioned it in the open about his swing last night, the home run. How short his swing is, but watch how close this comes to going out. That couldn't have been any more than a foot from the top of that railing.
Well, here's Cesar Hernandez with the winning run at second base. In a 5-5 game here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Cesar takes on the outside corner.
Now it's also a situation where you might see a pinch runner for Darren Ruff. Regular season, bottom of the 9th, high score.
And a looper out toward left center field. That'll drop for a base hit, and the Phils will wrap up spring training with a victory over their futures. They scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning to win it by a final score of 6-5. Well, they're working on their celebration on the walk-off by Cesar Hernandez. Hey, the futures pretty bright after what we saw this afternoon. From a pitching standpoint, Jake Thompson, 5 innings, he allowed 3 runs. Pinto, in his 4th inning of work, allowed 3 runs. Nick Williams, a big day, 3 RBIs. He's taking a glance. I think his hope is I'm going to be back here real soon. For Darren Ruff, it's he caps what has been a very good spring training for him. Here's Cesar Hernandez, though, with the game-winning hits.
Gets a changeup down and away. Gets enough of it. Shoot over shortstop. Darren Ruff with a very good lead there. He knows all I have to do is touch third and home, and we can get on this plane to Cincinnati.
Yeah, the season will begin. Pretty cool scene watching Emmanuel Burris going over to the young players and saying hello to them and wishing them luck on the season. Some of the other Phillies players are doing the same thing. Cedric Hunter, Juan Samuel coming over as well. There's some bright things the Phillies have witnessed over the last couple days. And over the last month, one of the bright things they've witnessed is Darren Ruff's swing, because it's been pretty sweet. And he is Down on the field with Greg Murphy. Murph?
All right, Tom, you're right. Darren Ruff's swing has been sweet, but I was just talking about his wheels. I mean, did you see his wheels today? Beating out infield hits and scoring from first. You finish the game, you get the double to tie it up. You know, everyone's wearing the same uniform, but always nice to win a game, right?
Yeah, no, it's nice, and those guys played hard. Yeah, it's just about getting big hits in big situations, and you know, it's nice swinging the bat well going into the season. You always want to do that. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we win or lose this game, but we wish them the best of luck, and I'm sure they're rooting us on too.
Yeah, Tom said after your double late in the game that he thinks this is the best that you've looked coming out of a spring training. I think that's a fair assessment. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, because last year would have been the only other year I was healthy, and so if I'm doing better than last year, that's good. But yeah, I feel comfortable swinging the bat well, and a lot of us are, so it should be a fun start to the year.
What does it mean for these guys, do you think, to get a chance to play in this ballpark against you guys, just get the opportunity over the last couple of days that they've had?
Yeah, I think it's a very valuable experience for them. You know, when a lot of us get called up, it would have been our first time playing here and playing in a big league stadium. So for them to get that experience, hopefully they wouldn't be as nervous than that, you know, the first time they get called up, and I'm sure a lot of them will at some point. So
you ready to go?
Oh yeah.
Let's play these for real, right?
Definitely.
All right, Darren, thanks. Guys, back upstairs.
All right, Murph, thank you. We appreciate that. So the Phillies wrap up their spring training with a victory over their futures. Emmanuel Burris, who has made this ball club, is over wishing luck to some of the players who eventually could be his teammates here in Philadelphia. It's a 6-5 Phillies win.